Tonight, we are witnessing something unprecedented. The simultaneous collapse of government at every level. In Chicago, the mayor literally runs away from his own budget vote while the chamber erupts in chaos. In Washington, we finally have proof of what we have been telling you about January 6th. 26 FBI informants now confirmed. And now, Nancy Pelosi, one of the architects of the January 6th committee and architects of our broken system, takes a literal fall in Luxembourg. Yeah, she is not in good condition right now. You can't make this stuff up, folks. But here's what the party doesn't want you to see. This isn't just failure. It's a controlled demolition of American institutions. As America's power grid strains under incompetent leadership, smart patriots are taking control of their own comfort and security. That's why I trust this incredible portable heater from StayWarmNow.com. While politicians leave their citizens in the cold, this compact powerhouse keeps you warm without breaking the bank. It's everything our government isn't: efficient, reliable, and actually works for the people. Don't let system failure leave you freezing. Visit StayWarmNow.com for up to 60% off and free shipping. That's StayWarmNow.com, because when the system fails, preparation prevails. Okay, so wild stuff happening all across the nation, all across the world. We're going to start in Chicago. Mayor Brandon Johnson called off his budget vote today, which included 11 tax and fee hikes totaling $233 million. A tax hike, $233 million. Another stunning defeat for the mayor and his political muscle in Chicago Teachers Union, and a great victory for average Chicagoans. Mayor Johnson plans to call off the budget vote. Johnson's decision to delay the budget vote is acknowledging the spending plan would hike property taxes $68.5 million. Chicagoans are paying outrageous property taxes, and he wants to raise it even more. Also, on a host of other taxes by an additional $165 million, and he doesn't have enough votes to pass it. Well, it went down today in that city council meeting. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, let's go Brandon, has called off Friday's already delayed final vote. The place erupts as he walks away. This is disgusting. You're embarrassing. And you're a coward. We got the video. Let's go to that. I'm going to bring it up so you can see it better. Here we go.
This meeting is recessed until December 16th at 1 p.m.
You are disgusting. Please get embarrassed. You're a coward.
This meeting is recessed until
People
December 16th.
are furious with the way that this city of Chicago is being run. They have just had enough. And now, 5 hours ago, we're learning, according to the New York Post, a government watchdog report reveals that the FBI spied on its incoming director and future boss, Kash Patel. Just like they spied on President Trump back in 2016, remember? And he's like, they spied on me. Well, they're spying on Kash Patel because they're terrified of what he's going to do. Now, Kash Patel apparently has the support of the rank and file FBI, but those on the 8th floor, no, not so much. And here's this. This is huge news. Okay, this came out just 24 hours ago. Inspector General report has just revealed there were at least 26 FBI informants on the Capitol grounds on January 6th, and at least 3 of them entered the Capitol building. We have been lied to. It is time for accountability. Let's listen to this report from Fox.
That exactly were they doing? And in fact, some of them, as we learned from this report, entered the restricted area, went into the Capitol, where they inciting anything? Were they enticing anyone to go with them? I really would love to know what exactly they were saying to the people in the groups that they were part of. I also think it's interesting that this report comes out the day after Chris Wray resigns. It seems to me that he may not have wanted to contend with the questions that, of course, are going to emerge from everything that we're learning today. And the other point I'd like to make is something that David Spunch just raised, where he said that Matthew Graves, who's the U.S. attorney here in Washington, D.C., did not prosecute any of those confidential human sources, spies, that did enter the Capitol that day. And his office, Graves' office, did put out a statement and said that they did not generally prosecute anyone who just went into the Capitol and didn't commit other crimes. My question there is, what does generally mean? How did they make those decisions? And why weren't those particular paid spies part of that group?
The 23 confidential human sources, just reading through this, Carrie, 3 of them entered the Capitol during the riot. An additional 11 entered the restricted area around the Capitol, to your point. Based on what we have learned so far in the details of this report, how would you characterize the findings?
Well, it's very interesting. I think it's especially interesting given that people who some of them were just, I think, internet sleuths and the like, have been talking about this for years. And it was only, I think, a couple of years ago that a DOJ attorney in court made the admission that some of these people were present that day. But if you remember, anyone who even raised the possibility that there were paid FBI spies part of what happened, who were part of what happened on January 6th, they were deemed crazy, conspiracy theorists, and the like. Now, look, confidential human sources are a law enforcement tool that are used in all kinds of situations, and we know that some of these people were apparently part of the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. But again, why so many? What were they doing? What were the conversations they were having? And if they were, in fact, according to the IG and the FBI, not authorized to be there, then why weren't they prosecuted like everybody else who were prosecuted for similar issues?
On that point, you and I were talking about this off camera. So far, as of August, 1,488 people who were there on January the 6th have been charged with some sort of an offense. 894 of those people have pled guilty to various offenses. 288 pled guilty to felonies. 606 pled guilty to misdemeanors. Yet none of these confidential informants were charged with anything.
Right, so you have to wonder, what were the conversations that were happening behind the scenes? And something else that came out in this report was that the confidential human sources, apparently the information they were providing to the FBI was no different than what everyone else was providing. Like, hey, January 6th, there might be some violence, there might be a thing. So there wasn't any, apparently it sounds like there wasn't anything special that they were revealing. And, you know, again, the questions are, what were those confidential human sources who were, quote, not encouraged or directed to be there by the FBI? What were they saying to the other people in their groups? Because,
like Ray Epps, we're going to the Capitol. After the speech, go this way. We're going to the Capitol. Everyone follow me. This way, this way.
The reason I keep raising that is because if, in fact, there were conversations occurring like, hey, let's go in there, let's do that, let's do this. You know, entrapment is a defense. You know, if a government agent induces you to commit a crime.
I didn't know she was going to say that.
A defendant can raise that in the court of law and say, look, I was trapped into doing something. I was enticed into doing something by the government I otherwise wouldn't have done. Now, the government's response based on this report would probably be, well, they weren't authorized by the government to be there at the time. But then, of course, a question for a judge would be, well, could they have been perceived still as an agent of the government, given that they were, you know, this confidential human source? What did the defendant know about them and their role at the time? I just think this report raises more questions, but certainly at a minimum, gives some credibility to people who have been saying this for so many years.
And I assume that we're never going to learn the names or the identities of the confidential informants. So that will leave open the question as to who it was. We got
exactly where they.
Well, I think with Donald Trump in power now, we might be seeing some very different things going on. We got this report as well. Nancy Pelosi fell down a set of stairs and broke her hip in Luxembourg. That's according to the New York Times. Colin Rugg says your country is controlled by nursing home patients. The incident happened days after the elderly Mitch McConnell fell. Look at this is video of Pelosi and Biden. I mean, look at that shuffle. I mean, it's just sad. These are the people that are supposedly running this country. He writes, this apparently from the Times, Miss Pelosi tripped. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing. Miss Pelosi tripped during going down marble stairs at the Grand Ducal Palace and took a hard fall. According to a person familiar with the incident who was not authorized to comment, spoke on a condition of anonymity. People close to Pelosi in California speaking on a condition of anonymity because we are not authorized to speak for her, said the former speaker, fractured her hip when she fell. You know there's video. You know somebody got that on camera. It's there. And I hope to God that it is published. Somebody, please, can we see that? Can we play it on repeat? Like we saw Joe Biden falling up the stairs? And speaking of traitors in our own government, Lisa Murkowski is whining. She's whining about how she and Joni Ernst are being held accountable and how unfair it is. They might be primaried if they don't support President Trump's nominee. Oh, so sad. Now, I should point out, Lisa Murkowski, if you guys don't know this truth about her, she was actually appointed by her father to take that Senate seat, and she's held it ever since. Okay, she didn't actually win an election to get that position. Now, she's won subsequent elections, but her initial placement there was a tap by her father. Pure nepotism. This woman does not deserve to be post in that position at all. I mean, she has been a thorn in the side of Donald Trump for years. She is clearly a neocon rhino Republican, and she needs to be primaried regardless of how she stands on Trump's nominees. But apparently she's whining now. She's whining. This is from Western Lensman posting this video.
But I think it's going to be hard, quite honestly. I think it's going to be hard in these next 4 years because you have an administration coming in that has had an opportunity to kind of see how things work, what didn't work, and now we've had 4 years to think about it. And the approach is going to be everybody toe the line. Everybody line up. We got you here, and if you want to survive, you better be good. Don't get on Santa's naughty list here because we will primary you. And my friend Joni Ernst, who is probably one of the more conservative, principled Republican leaders.
Oh, yeah. Have you seen her work with George Floyd and BLM? Joni Ernst? She deserves to be primaried regardless, too.
In the Senate right now is being hung out to dry for not being good enough. And you're going to get primaried.
Good.
Well, you know, what's this all about? Why are we doing this to ourselves? So I think we're getting a little bit of a preview now of what it's going to mean to be allegiant to party. And I don't think that that's going to help us as a Republican Party, believe it or not. And I think it's going to energize and charge up the Democrats to say, all right, the Republicans are going to overreach, they're going to overreact, and so we're going to have an opportunity. But I think
come on.
Be hard.
Oh, yeah, she thinks that the Democrats are going to capitalize on the fact that we're going to try to primary you. Listen to the fear tactics from her. Oh, my goodness, the Democrats are going to see a weakness. Oh, yeah. No. Murkowski, gone. Ernst, gone. You don't toe the line? Gone. All right? You get the memo? Yeah, it's right on your desk. Get with the program or get out of the way. These people, man. Kristen Megan, a longtime friend of mine, she had this to say 8 hours ago. She posted this, and I want to bring it to your attention. Every single person should be paying attention to what's happening in Michigan right now. It's absolutely disgusting what the unhinged Democrats are doing during their lame duck session before they lose the majority in the House. And she was quote tweeting Matt Maddock. Lame Duck Live, every business has a freight train aimed at them. Michigan Democrats refuse to fix paid sick leave and tipped workers and instead want gas and registration increase and tampons in boys' bathrooms and licenses for illegals. That is what the state of Michigan is working on right now. Okay, so pay attention. And as we said, Pelosi fractured her hip. Thoughts and prayers to Nancy Pelosi. And this is in Biden's America. A woman laughs as she steals toilet paper from a CVS. This is still going on. We're still seeing just rampant looting, but this is all going to come to an end.
All right, put that down. Stupid. I might as well just put that down.
Who's opening his door?
What?
Open the door.
Or, all right, put that down.
Okay.
Go ahead, put it over there.
You have activated our
window control. Don't touch me. You don't have the right to touch me. No, not on my kids. I'm
Where your kids went? Call them. Call them. Call them.
You can't touch me though.
Call them then. Go ahead, call them.
Whoa.
Go ahead, put that down.
Come on. Y'all this way. I'm just
Stupid.
Look at that.
I might as well just put that down.
Who's opening his door?
What?
Open the door.
Or, all right, put that down.
Okay.
Go ahead, put it over there.
You have activated our
window control. Don't touch me. You don't have the right to touch me. No, not on my kids.
Where your kids went? Call them. Call them. Call them.
You can't touch me though.
Call them then.
I mean, this is still going on all over the country. Pelosi falling, of course. We just covered that. It's a disgrace how criminals feel so empowered. You know, years ago, I used to work as a loss prevention officer for a major retailer a long time ago, and there were certain rules you just couldn't do certain things. Like, for example, she was like, open the door. Well, they closed the door. They locked the door. They must have disabled it because she was still able to get out. You can't lock the door on somebody. Even if they're a thief, you could still be charged with like kidnapping, right? You can't touch them because they can, make all kinds of allegations. But the fact that this is still happening in this country, it's a cancer on society. And I hope that law and order certainly returns. And here we have Elizabeth Warren. She's out there fear-mongering right now. She had this to say goodbye to your smile and say hello to polio. That's what's on the horizon if Robert F. Kennedy Jr. becomes the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Absolute fear-mongering from Pocahontas. Listen in.
Doesn't believe. Say goodbye to your smile and say hello to polio. I would laugh if it weren't so scary. Donald Trump just picked RFK Jr. to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. This is a man who wants to stop kids from getting their polio and measles shots. He's actually welcoming a return to polio, a disease we nearly eradicated.
How ridiculous.
But it doesn't stop there. RFK Jr. also doesn't believe fluoride should be in your water, and that's what keeps your teeth from rotting. You can't make this stuff up. Say goodbye to your smile.
Yeah, so she's absolutely fear-mongering, and that post did get a community note. Rate proposed community notes. Now, you guys, because we're on my X account, you have the ability to see what I see. Because if you look on the screen, it tells you, it says, this is a rate proposed community note. Only visible to contributors, because we can now, Next News Network has the ability to rate community notes. I've been doing that actively. And this is what's on the record here. Senator Warren is making a false statement. The lawyer in question and his client have clearly explained that the lawyer is not representing RFK Jr., but I can. More explanation from the lawyer on why the senator and New York Times article promoting the same falsehood is wrong. So Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, is straight up fear-mongering her base, trying to whip up a frenzy against RFK Jr. It's time to get fluoride out of water. It's a long time. Okay. Now we've got this. Harrison Smith posted this 8 hours ago. Harrison Smith, he works with Alex Jones and InfoWars. And he asked the question, is Nancy Pelosi faking a hip injury while overseas to avoid arrest by Trump? Fani Willis was just forced to admit that she was in communication with Pelosi during the politicized prosecution of Trump. And here we have Tom Fitton laying it out.
She didn't bother. Well, Fani Willis just confessed to having records of her communications with the January 6th Pelosi operation, the Get Trump operation. She only confessed to this yesterday thanks to a Judicial Watch lawsuit. Of course, when we first sued and began asking for these records, they told us they had no records. Well, it turns out that wasn't true. In fact, the only reason we got the confession yesterday was because a court last week found her in default. She didn't bother to answer the lawsuit under law as she was supposed to. But rather than turn the records over, as the court, I think, strongly suggested, she's using a loophole of exemptions and privileges to hide the records from the American people. Now, we're going to push back hard in court. Our heavy lifting will continue. But in the meantime, this really does confirm, A, she was in collusion with the Pelosi operation to get Trump. B, she has no respect for the rule of law. C, she has no respect for your right to know. Well, Fani Willis just confessed to
Fani Willis confessing. Is Pelosi trying to hide? And more madness. Okay, you guys know about the craziness going on over the White House Christmas display. Well, 10 hours ago, this was posted. This is great. Jill Biden says, "Hello, kids. Happy holidays." And a kid screams back, "Happy Christmas!"
Hi. Hello. How are you? Hi. Happy holidays. Hi. Happy Christmas. Yes.
A kid totally correcting her. Okay. Okay. We were talking about, January 6th, right? Okay. Here's this post. This was made by Thomas Massey. 12 hours ago. For years, I was called a conspiracy theorist for asking Garland, Ray, and Horowitz whether government assets participated in J6. Yesterday, I was vindicated. DOJ IG report confirms there were FBI confidential human sources in the crowd entering the Capitol and breaking laws.
They agitate. Okay, I was hoping today to give you an opportunity to put to rest the concerns that people have that there were federal agents or assets of the federal government present on January 5th and January 6th. Can you tell us, without talking about particular incidents or particular videos, how many agents or assets of the federal government were present on January 6th, whether they agitated to go into the Capitol, and if any of them did?
So I'm not going to violate this norm of the rule of law. I'm not going to comment on an investigation that's ongoing.
Now, in that video, that was your answer to a question to me 2 years ago. When I said how many agents or assets of the government were present on January 5th and January 6th and agitating in the crowd to go into the Capitol, and how many went into the Capitol. Can you answer that now?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Oh, last time, you don't know how many there were, or there were none?
I don't know the answer to either of those questions. If there were any, I don't know how many. I don't know whether there are any.
I think you may have just perjured yourself that you don't know that there were any. You want to say that again, that you don't know that there were any?
I have no personal knowledge of this matter. I think what I said last time.
You've had 2 years to find out.
Were there any confidential human sources involved from the FBI or any other agency in the erection of that prop, those gallows?
I'm not aware of anything like that.
Inspector General Horowitz, over the past 3 years, I've questioned FBI Director Wray and Attorney General Merrick Garland about the federal assets, such as confidential human sources that were present on January 6th at the Capitol, and they have continuously stonewalled me. We've got no answers whatsoever about this from them. Do you have evidence of the number of confidential human sources that were operating on the Capitol grounds on January 6th?
Our report will include the information in that regard.
Can you tell us today how many there were? Were there more than 100?
I'm not in a position to say that, both because it's in draft form and we have not gone through the classification review. And so I need to be careful.
And we're 4 years, almost 4 years into this report. When is it going to be released?
It's certainly my hope and expectation, although I don't control this entirely because it has to go through a classification review, but certainly in the next couple of months, is my hope.
Do you think, is there any consideration for the election about the release of this report? Would you delay it in order to not release it right before the election?
At this point, given the process that has to play out in terms of classification review and all of that, I'm not making any, I don't have to make any judgment about that. We're still.
It's called slow walking, folks.
That still has to go on. Just to give you a sense of it, when I did the Pfizer.
You're saying it's not even going to be done in time for before the election?
It doesn't, I doubt it would be done in time for the election.
We know, what we do know is you're going to expose that there were confidential human sources at the Capitol. Can you tell us today how many went into the Capitol?
I'll have that information in the report. I'm not able to speak to information in there, both because it's in draft and we get a response from the department and the FBI, okay, but also because I don't know yet what's classified and not classified.
Okay, so now we know there were, in fact, people on the ground going to entrap confidential sources working in the crowd on January 6th. Meanwhile, Joe Biden is racing to liquidate steel. This is coming from Nick Sortor. Liquidate steel meant to be used to completing the border wall, trucking off to auction for pennies on the dollar. Biden is actively attempting to stifle any of Trump's effort to secure the border. This is happening in real time. Nancy Pelosi, of course, suffering her injury, cancels the rest of her engagements after falling down the stairs, according to Gateway Pundit. And Democrats are now actively advocating a military coup in America. Yeah, you can't make this up. Amuse reporting that in order to save democracy, their solution is a military dictatorship.
Unconfirmed. I think that we are underrating the possibility that the military may have to coup Trump. In the past days, he has been talking about purging the military of generals and replacing them with loyalists. He is talking about deploying the military to carry out these mass deportations. And this has been unconfirmed, but NBC is reporting that Donald Trump is planning on having military tribunals for military officers who were involved in the botched Afghanistan withdrawal. The one that he orchestrated, by the way. And I guess my question is the military really just going to roll over and say, sure, parade these innocent military officers in front of a tribunal and charge them with treason? Sure. Like, are there discussions happening right now in the military? Like, hey, what do we do when Trump oversteps? Or are they just going to go along with this whole thing? I think that we are underrating the possibility that the military may have to coup Trump.
Yeah, that's the mindset of the Democrats right now. They want to coup Trump. Meanwhile, Joy Reid, one of my favorite MSNBC hosts, she's having a meltdown over Trump winning the Time Person of the Year, and she has some interesting comparisons.
Better or for worse is not much of a ringing endorsement, and we all know which one Trump falls under. And let's remember who else has been given this title in years past in the same category: Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, Ayatollah Khomeini, and Vladimir Putin. In fact, Stalin won the distinction twice, just like Trump. Regardless of the company he keeps, we know how important these magazine covers are to Trump. Just look at this tour he gave the Washington Post in 2015 of his Trump Tower office, with a wall adorned with his various cover appearances. Better or for worse is not much of a ringing endorsement.
Yeah, of course she wants to compare him to Hitler, Stalin, and Putin, but it's no comparison. Jesse Waters reporting on the January 6th report. 26 confidential human sources there that day, paid rats in MAGA hats. Over a dozen spies participated in the so-called insurrection. Why didn't the FBI director tell Congress? Let's hear.
We're in D.C. on January. Fox News alert, the Justice Department just released the bombshell report that we've been waiting for. What actually happened on January 6th? The FBI had 26 confidential human sources there that day. 26. A confidential human source is a guy the FBI pays to spy for them. Of the 26 confidential human sources who were in D.C. on Jan 6th, 4 entered the Capitol during the riot. An additional 13 entered the restricted area around the Capitol. So more than a dozen FBI spies participated in the so-called insurrection. A bunch of them broke into the Capitol. Their own inspector general says this is what happened. But that's not what they told you when they testified under oath.
Those who were there in an undercover capacity on January 6th, how many were there?
Again, I'm not sure that I can give you that number as I sit here. I'm not sure there were undercover agents on scene.
I thought I heard you say you didn't know whether there were FBI agents or informants or human sources in the Capitol or in the vicinity on January 6th. Did I misunderstand you? I thought that's what you said.
Well, I referred very specifically to undercover agents.
Yeah. And so are you acknowledging then there were undercover agents?
As I sit here right now, I do not believe there were undercover agents on scene.
The inspector was hiding something, so Congress asked the question a different way. Listen.
Did you have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters inside the Capitol on January the 6th prior to the doors being open?
Again, I had to be very careful.
It should be a no. Can you not tell the American people no? We did not have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters positioned inside the Capitol.
Gentleman's time has expired.
You should not read anything into my decision not to share information.
Director Ray,
confidential human
gentleman's time.
Ray's right. The FBI didn't have undercover agents at January 6th. They had confidential human sources. So what's the difference? Well, a confidential human source doesn't get health insurance or a pension. They're just freelancing for the feds. Rats in MAGA hats. They're basically paid informants that the FBI runs at headquarters. A lot of these FBI rats get picked up on some other charge. They get sat down and the FBI says, you're going to work for me now. And if you don't, you're looking at 20 years to life. So these guys say, yes, sir. And they cozy up to people like the Proud Boys and anyone the feds wants to watch and control from the inside. And these confidential human sources are under pressure to deliver. What does deliver mean? It means intelligence and big busts that get the FBI good headlines. According to the Inspector General report, the spies were feeding the FBI intel that said January 6th was going to get a little hairy. But FBI headquarters did nothing about it and then lied to Congress and said they did. So why did headquarters let January 6th get so out of hand? And what were all these FBI spies doing that day and the days before? Were they riling everyone up like they did in the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping plot? In that case, the FBI informants instigated the plot. They even used an FBI credit card to buy the ammo, supplies, and hotel rooms. Did the FBI pay for Jan 6 hotel rooms? We don't know. Remember, the media and the Democrats said this whole thing was a conspiracy.
Where do you think this idea comes from, that this was somehow done by the feds?
I heard that one of the debaters said it was an inside job. It's an inside job on the part of Donald Trump and his henchmen.
Republicans have blamed the FBI and said it was an inside job.
It certainly was not an inside job by FBI agents or Antifa. They go around blaming it on Antifa and FBI agents.
Well, how did the media know it wasn't an inside job when the FBI had 26 of their people on the inside? January 6th certainly benefited the media, the FBI and the Democrats. 1,500 arrests, humiliated Trump, got him impeached, criminalized the MAGA movement. Trump got indicted over January 6th, remember? They tried to throw him in prison over this. The January 6th committee, it's all Democrats did for 2 years. Why did...
Oh, yeah, the J6 committee is now getting totally exposed. But did you guys see this headline here? Look at this. Donald Trump Jr. Now the lunatics are coming after. Wait for it. Wait for it. Humans may be global warming by breathing, according to a new study. Yeah. So we've got that. That's the new narrative that's being pushed. Your breathing is causing global warming. So much is happening, and we wish Nancy Pelosi a speedy recovery, right? I just want to see the video of her falling. I think that we can play on repeat. So the evidence is overwhelming, from Chicago's fiscal meltdown to the FBI's January 6 revelations, from crumbling infrastructure to failing leadership. We're watching the controlled demolition of American institutions in real time. Pelosi's tumble down those marble stairs in Luxembourg isn't just an accident, it's a metaphor for an entire political class. But here is what should really make you think. Is this collapse organic or is it engineered? Are we witnessing the natural end of a corrupt system, or is there something more deliberate at play? Share your thoughts in the comments below on whether Americans' institutions are worth saving or if it's time for a fresh start. And while you're contemplating on the fall of Rome 2.0, gear up for the revolution with our MAG Avengers collection at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com, because from the ashes of corruption, a new nation will rise.